Live with clickorlando.com, this is News 6 at noon, getting results.
Now at noon, a plea deal accepted. The mom at the center of an abuse case that received national attention because of a note will spend roughly another year in jail. Why the judge decided to accept the deal in minutes.
But first, searchers continue scouring a Central Florida lake searching for signs of a missing child. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Bridget Ellison.
And I'm Justin Mormith. That child was part of a row team who was on Lake Fairview when lightning hit close to them last night, causing their boat to flip over. News 6's Eric Sandoval is live at the North Orlando Rowing Club right now. What are you finding out about this, Eric?
Well, Justin, just within the last 30 minutes, we got an official update from Orlando fire crews, and they say at this moment they are still scouring that lake for any signs of that child.
Just heartbreaking. Thank you, Eric. New information about that wicked weather spotted at Epcot yesterday. The National Weather Service now confirms it was a funnel cloud. They say it briefly developed before 7 last night, but did not touch down. There were no severe weather warnings at the time this started to take shape, but storms and flood advisories have been hitting parts of Central Florida. Of course, we could see more this afternoon.
Yeah, this has been such a pattern, and we just can't let our guard down.
And it's based on something different than we've been used to. We've got the sea breezes coming together, the east and west coast sea breezes, but also a front stalled out just to our north, and that's a focal point for some of these stronger storms. It's why we saw that funnel cloud. It's why we saw some of that lightning linger so late last night that even hampered the rocket launch. And I think we're going to see that same setup today and through the weekend. We're also pinpointing the tropics, of course, and the latest advisory as of 11 this morning on Tropical Storm Fiona does have this storm just about 370 miles from Puerto Rico. It is moving to the west at 14 miles per hour with 50-mile-per-hour winds. This is the latest track as of 11 o'clock this morning, and most of the island is included in the cone. Now, once we head into Saturday and Sunday, likely to see some strong wind, some heavy rain, more than a foot of rain could add up. Again, this is for the island of Puerto Rico. Florida likely not to see impacts except for some high seas heading into next week. We'll talk about that. But the latest track does have this strengthened to a Category 1 hurricane over the Bahamas heading into the beginning of next week on into the middle of next week, moving up parallel to our coast, and it will be about 500 miles off of our coast through the middle of next week. That means more high seas, also some rip current threats. But other than that, the good news is this would not impact Florida. But again, this weekend it will be a real player with heavy rain and some wind for Puerto Rico. We'll have more on today's storms, already seeing some showers developing along the east coast sea breeze. The timing for that straight ahead. Guys, back to you.
Right now, a group of migrants is on its way to a military base in Cape Cod. They're being moved to a voluntary basis more than 24 hours after they arrived in Martha's Vineyard from Texas, mainly from Venezuela, was flown to Massachusetts Wednesday. And Governor Ron DeSantis is taking credit for those flights and said the state paid for their transport. There's been strong reaction to the state of Florida's decision.
There really has. Now immigration and faith leaders in Orlando are denouncing the move by the governor. The group gathered at a church in the Azalea Park area just an hour ago, many of them holding signs and the Venezuelan flag. Most of the immigrants, again, who arrived in Martha's Vineyard are from Venezuela, according to several reports. Some of the people who spoke in Orlando also have connections to the country. They say the governor used who they call asylum seekers as political pawns.
What is the point of this political stunt if not politics themselves? Once again, the governor has put politics first and our economy last. It is morally repugnant and economically illogical to do what the governor just did.
Some of the speakers also called for the Department of Justice to get involved, joining others like Florida Agriculture Commissioner Nikki Fried. They say the matter raises legal questions and they want the DOJ to investigate immediately.
New at noon now, the Orange County mother of an 11-year-old who was rescued by a restaurant worker has been sentenced for child abuse and failure to report the abuse. News 6's Mark Lehman was in court for the plea deal and has more on the judge's decision. Whether you're sitting down at a restaurant or grabbing a cup of coffee, tips have become a regular norm.
Coming up, we'll take a look at the customer debate on how much is too much. First, though, lining up to pay their respects to the Queen. People waiting up to 14 hours. The line's so long, mourners can't even join at this time. Coming up next at noon, the vigil King Charles III and siblings plan to hold in just hours.
You're watching News 6 at noon. Getting results. We'll be right back.
Sponsored by the Florida Lottery, who encourages you to play responsibly.
Want to get real local? News 6 Mornings has the experts.
Hey Brevard, I'm Crystal and I grew up in Vieira, right near the avenues, and I know the Space Coast like the back of my hand.
I'm Justin, Seminole County, born and raised. This really is my town.
Hey Osceola County, it's me, Trooper Steve. I've been a state trooper now for over 10 plus years. If you want to know about Osceola, I'm your guy.
From Osceola to Brevard, no one gets real local like us. News 6 Mornings, you gotta watch before you go.
Live with Bridget Ellison, Justin Warmoth, and meteorologist Troy Bridges. This is News 6 at noon, getting results.
The British government has temporarily halted people from joining the miles-long line to file past Queen Elizabeth II's coffin. Here's a live look at Westminster Hall, where the Queen's body has been lying in state since Wednesday. The wait time has reached 14 hours. The temporary pause comes as King Charles III and his siblings prepare to stand vigil in the historic hall.
This morning, the King completed his visit to all the nations of the United Kingdom. CBS's Ian Lee has more from London. Tomorrow, all 8 of Queen Elizabeth II's grandchildren are expected to stand vigil at her coffin. Prince Harry will be allowed to wear his uniform, a move King Charles approved. He did not wear his uniform at the procession to Westminster Hall earlier this week because he's no longer a working royal after he and his wife Meghan Markle broke ties with the family in 2020.
Turning back to your weather as we take a live look outside. Launch Credit Union Port Cam at Port Canaveral. Yeah, you see that out there. That's been the case for much of the morning. The coast getting wet with some storms already.
Yes, things firing up. Let's check on the radar and everything else with meteorologist Troy Bridges.
Busy in the weather department. We're going to be once again this afternoon and evening dealing with those storms. We've got a stalled front to the north and the sea breeze action. Of course, all eyes also on the tropics as we watch out for the island of Puerto Rico. And we are going to be dealing in that island and the island for dealing with heavy rain that could add up to about a foot, also dealing with some strong wind. But I do think the rain is going to be the biggest concern, leading to some localized flooding. So here we go. It's about 300 miles away from Puerto Rico right now, the center of circulation. But most of the convection is off to the east or the northeast of the center. That is the storminess of that off to the northeast. And so it's not all that well organized. But here is the official track as of 11 o'clock this morning. It does take it over the island of Puerto Rico through the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, and then over Hispaniola, and eventually making a turn into the Bahamas, strengthening over some of that water to a Category 1 hurricane by the beginning of next week, possibly by Tuesday on into Wednesday, holding together as a Category 1 hurricane. So here are the official models on this. Each of these lines indicates a different computer's idea of where this would go, and they're in pretty good agreement that this would go over Hispaniola eventually and then make that sharp turn to the north and be about 500 miles off of our coast for the middle and the end of next week. And so we will have some high seas and some rip currents from this system because of the proximity of it. Now, back close to home today, we're dealing with some rain, again, all because of the east coast sea breeze beginning to develop, even some pop-up showers ahead of the sea breeze because of a stalled boundary. Now, most of the boundary is out to sea, but some of it is stretching back on land into areas of Volusia County, and so that's why in Volusia we are seeing a little bit of that rain pop up, and more of that is to come as we head into the next several hours, certainly after 3 p.m. ongoing through about 8 o'clock. But here's a look at the pinpoint accurate forecast.
Your forecast is sponsored by Del Air Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electrical.
And today we warmed to a high of 89, at times feeling a little warmer with a 70% coverage of showers and storms. There they are, beginning to develop on through 2 o'clock this afternoon, pushing east to west. Then the west coast sea breeze gets in on the action. We heat up this unstable atmosphere by 5 p.m. and it's more widespread. There's that 70% coverage. There's 6:30 tonight, and then again 9:30 around the time for that rocket launch. We're covered up along the Space Coast, including Kennedy Space Center. So rain, thunderstorms, a real factor even late tonight. Early morning temperatures tomorrow in the low and mid 70s, 71 in Ocala, 75 in Orlando, and 75 in Cocoa Beach. Here's a look at the 7-day forecast. As we get results, you'll see those rain chances high at 70% for today, tomorrow, and for Sunday, with high temperatures in the upper 80s, all because of the cloud cover and the increased rain. Guys, back to you.
Thanks, Troy. You can always get the latest weather alerts on your phone with our free Pinpoint Weather app. Just search WKMG in your app store.
The FDA is warning against a new flavored nicotine product.
And one company's already had it discontinued. Next at noon, the dangers behind nicotine gummies. But first, the advancement of technology has made tipping for goods and services easier, but harder for Americans to decide on just the right amounts. More on the tipping debate up next.
It's hurricane season. But Chief Meteorologist Tom Sorrells and the Pinpoint Weather Team are here for you. Because when the tropics heat up, we stay focused. No hype, no noise. Just a calm, consistent, accurate weather team tracking the hurricane's path with pinpoint Doppler radar and 3D views bring us inside the storm to help keep you and your family safe. This hurricane season, stay prepared with the News 6 Pinpoint Weather Team and the Hurricane Tracker app. News 6, getting results.
Thanks for spreading the news about this story. It helped us get to this resolution. Definitely be getting results.
Before we go, Michael Jordan's Last Dance jersey was just purchased at a Sotheby's auction.
And the iconic number 23 Bulls jersey went for big bucks, a whopping $10.1 million.
Oh, that's a lot.
That's right. The jersey was worn by MJ during Game 1 of the '98 Finals, and the pre-sale estimate was between $3 and $5 million, so doubled that. This is the most money someone's ever paid for a piece of sports memorabilia that was worn in a game.
Well, he's the greatest of all time.
The best part is the Bulls lost that game. Game 1, they lost again.
Oh, well.
Against the Utah Jazz.
They won plenty of others.
Yeah, they did.
I love that you know those facts.
Maybe not so lucky. More news and weather at 4.
Have a great one.
Not gorgeous.